What is going on, everybody? What is going on? The Catch fam, I hope you guys are doing phenomenal tonight, man. Hope everybody out there has had a great Wednesday. I hope you guys are ready for another live 2023 fantasy football mock draft here on The Catch. Tonight, we've got a 12-team full PPR fantasy football mock draft for the 2023 fantasy football season. We'll take a look at the roster settings. One quarterback, two running backs, two wide receivers, one tight end, two flex spots tonight, kicker and defense, and 5 bench spots. So we're not going to waste any time. Let me get the final warning out on Discord. Mock is starting. And we'll get this thing rolling pretty quickly. So, yeah, hope you guys are doing great tonight. I'm excited, man. You know, another mock draft. We've been pumping them out like crazy the past week or so. And definitely excited for tonight's mock. So let's get this thing started. And then we'll go over the intro and anything for the day. But hit the like button on the way in, guys. Do the YouTube stuff so more people see the stream. Help me out in the algorithm. If you guys are new to the channel, it's all we do here. Free fantasy football content all year round. Redraft, Dynasty, and Best Ball. So make sure you guys are subscribed. And, guys, join our free Discord. Link is in the description down below. That is where the mock draft invites go out. It's completely free to join. And, yeah, so do that. Most importantly, hop in the live chat. Let me know how you guys are doing. Any fantasy football topics you guys want to go over tonight, redraft, dynasty, or best ball, any NFL topics you guys want to go over, throw them in the live chat. We're going to have some fun tonight. We're going to talk some fantasy football. So let's just quickly look at the news for the day. Nothing too crazy necessarily. And, you know, I haven't been on the last 2 days. I've just had uploads for you guys. But there's a lot of training camp buzz. You know, I mean, it is August 9th. This is what we're going to get. You know, just remember, like I always remind you guys, don't get too worried, wrapped up in training camp reports in either direction, good or bad, okay? Don't panic too much about injuries. We're going to know when there's a serious injury on the line, okay? Don't get too concerned, okay, in either direction. Things are going to be okay. But let's go over some of the main things here, all right? The Saints are expected to sign running back Kareem Hunt upon passing his physical. He also met with the Colts today, and they offered him a contract. So I don't know if the report about him expecting to sign with the Saints is 100% accurate. I don't know if it's 100% false or whatever. But overall, we've got Kareem Hunt potentially joining the Saints, so makes things interesting. I still think Jamal Williams will be fine for a fair share of work in that time that Kamara's out. Kendre Miller is still going to have an impact, but I don't know. He's expected to sign there, so we'll kind of see how that plays out. But he's going to either go to, looks like, the Saints or the Colts, which will have a fantasy impact of sorts. I mean, you know, you look at his statistics the past, 3-5 years, they're not outstanding, but he's also, had a shortened time with Kansas City. And then, when he was with Cleveland, was basically splitting the backfield with the top 5 running back in the league and Nick Chubb. So we'll see what happens there. But we've got that going on. You guys are well aware. Jalen Waddle left Miami's joint practice with Atlanta today with an injury to his right midsection. So, I think he's going to be just fine. It sounds like a rib injury or potentially an abdominal injury. So I'm not going to panic just yet about this. But it is definitely something to monitor. Like I just said, don't get too wrapped up in injury reports just yet. When these guys are getting hurt at this point in the offseason, they're going to be rested, right? They're going to do whatever they need to do. Those star-studded players, the players that are very important from a fantasy perspective. And if it's a serious injury, we're going to know sooner rather than later, right? We know we're not going to see anything out of Joe Burrow for the rest of preseason, right? With Jalen Waddle, This could be something serious, don't get me wrong, but I think overall he's probably going to be ready, good to go by week 1. We'll see, though. Rashad Bateman was activated off the PUP list, back at practice. Gus Edwards left practice today. Marlon Mack's out for the season with an Achilles injury, which does kind of suck. I mean, like, probably wasn't going to do much this year, but, you know, Marlon Mack, one of the biggest, like, what-if potential scenario guys, but... Kenneth Walker has not practiced since the first day of camp, but Pete Carroll says it's not a serious injury in regards to the groin injury, and that he's running at full speed in a straight line. He'll start cutting in a couple practices. So, Chiefs expect Kadarius Toney and Isaiah Pacheco to be ready for week 1. We had Jerome Ford get injured, you know, the hamstring injury. So some of the stuff a little bit older. I just haven't been on in 2 days, so... but yeah, that's basically everything. If there's anything that I missed, anything major you guys feel like, put in the live chat and we'll hit it as well. But let's mock, guys. Because the Catch Fam redraft tournament officially announced last night. Told you guys to stay posted the last week so I could get that announcement out for you guys. And I expected it to fill pretty quickly. You guys filled the entire tournament in like less than an hour. I just sat there and like watched the messages come in and like just filled out the spreadsheet basically. And it was like literally like 45 minutes. So don't be too discouraged if you did not get a spot and you do want to play. Just message me on Discord. Let me know. I have a couple spots that I still need to get confirmation from. And I'm considering adding one more league. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do 5 leagues as compared to 4, because I'm also going to have a couple leagues specific to YouTube members that will be announced probably next weekend as well. So, like, I'm already going to be, including the Dynasty leagues, I'm already running like 8 leagues, and then including the YouTube member leagues, probably going to be running like 10 to 12, and then I'm playing in my 2 home leagues. And playing another league, so, you know, got to keep it somewhat in check here. But anyways, who am I drafting here? Give me Kenny. And give me DJ Moore. Okay, let's see who's in the live chat. Thank you guys for being here. Guys, hit the like button for me if you haven't done so already. We got 17 of you guys in here, 5 likes. Smash the like button for me. And let's get into it. Guys, don't forget, it is mock draft season here at the channel. So if you guys have any mock draft requests, don't forget, you can drop them in a comment on any of the videos that I have out so far for the month. You guys can put in the live chat, although that's probably not the best way to do it because I'll probably forget. Really, the best way is just to drop a comment on one of the videos, because then I just have that, like, outstanding notification from YouTube. But you can let me know on Discord, let me know on Instagram, you can let me know in the live chat. And I'll get it added to the schedule. So doesn't matter what format, super flex, half PPR. I did an 8-team mock the other night. You know, I've got a 14 team on the schedule. So 3 wide receivers, whatever you guys need. You guys know I'm happy to do it. And I can run it, get it on the schedule for a live stream like this if you really prefer that. But ultimately, most of the live streams, just so you guys know, moving forward, are going to be this format, you know, 12 teams. And then basically your basic format, and then 2 flex spots, okay? 5 bench spots on top of that, because the Catch Fam tournament is this format, so I want you guys to get as much practice as possible. And then my primary home league is also this format. So I'm right now, I've filled the first league for the Catch Fam tournament. We randomized the order today. I'm at the 1.12. And my home league, my primary league with Steven that I've been in since like the 5th grade, you know, we've already set our draft order. I'm at the 1.12. So apparently I just need to get some practice from the 1.12. And don't forget, guys, one last note on the mock drafts as we continue through August. If you guys, you know, we mainly do random order. But if you guys really want to practice for your league from a specific spot and you don't want there to be a random order, and I already have, you know, made the announcement for the night and I haven't said anything about no random order, message me, whatever. We'll do no random order. You guys can claim your spot for the night. So, all right, let's see who's in the live chat. JSC, what's going on, man? Emil, Chase Brown, Taylor, how's everybody doing tonight? Hello. Yeah, exactly, Chase. I see that we were both practicing our draft positions for the tournament, 100%. Made for TV, what's going on? Best Dogs, hello, hello. JSC, any chance Devontae Chain in 2003 could be the Kenneth Walker 2022? I believe there's a path. I mean, I really like Devontae Chain. So, yes, that's actually a very interesting comparison, and I'm not going to say no. Walker had a great year, so it's a little steep to say that A. Shane could do that, but Walker 15 games, over 1,000 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, a top 20 fantasy back. If he had played, as a starter in those first 4 games, although I guess he missed week 1, and, he also missed week 14, but I think when you look across the board, that's a pretty good comparison for potential. But when you look at A-Chain and look at his, role that he's probably going to have, his skill set, I don't quite know if he's the same type of running back as Kenneth Walker. As much as I like him, I think he's probably going to be utilized to his own specific skill set. So we'll have to see. But I do think that's an interesting comparison and a fair comparison. And I do agree that there's definitely a path for him to be the starter for the Dolphins for sure. Mason Miller, hello. Thoughts on Cooper Kupp and Austin Eckler? I was like, who? I think they'll bust. I think the Cooper Kupp one, I guess, I don't know. I can see where you're coming from with both these guys. Kupp with the hamstring injury, I do think Kupp is reliant on, I don't want to say reliant, but his fantasy value is definitely going to be much more steady, with Matthew Stafford on the field, but all reports are indicating that Stafford is going to be good to go. So I don't think Eckler's going to bust. If we get regression out of Eckler, that's fair. He's your running back 1 last year, the running back 2 the year before that. Okay. 2020, still had a good season, but, he only played 10 games. He was hurt. And then 2019 was your RB4. So, regression would make sense here. Don't get me wrong. So, you see him kind of falling back a little bit in drafts, but I think Eckler's going to be just fine. This is going to be a better, more efficient offense than it has been in the past. And ultimately, I think he'll be just fine. I really do. But I could also see a world where, he gets less of those check down passes because the offense overall is just going to be ran differently. But I don't think Eckler is going to be an issue. And I really don't think Cooper Kupp is as well. When you break down what Kupp has done when healthy with Matthew Stafford, he has never not had a game with double-digit fantasy points, which is just absolutely ridiculous. So, and then even, the year before Stafford joined the team, 1, 2, 3, 4 single-digit fantasy games, then missed week 17. So, overall, I think he's going to be just fine. I really do. His skill set, don't get me wrong, like I said, him and Stafford on the field at the same time, better for his fantasy stock, but at the same time, a very talented wide receiver. I would worry more if something happened to Stafford just because, what are we really looking at there? Stetson Bennett? I don't know. But I think Eckler will be fine. J-Dubs, what's going on, man? Hello. Spence, can I have a 2-team full PPR? What do you mean 2-team full PPR mock? Oh, 2. Literally, okay, get out of here. Wait, do you want to draft do you want to literally draft 2 teams at the same time? No, Spencer, get out of here. Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley in 2023 will be the Hurts and AJ Brown in 2022. I do kind of bring that up year to year. You have to kind of find that trend and follow that trend as of late, Brady with Godwin and Evans, and then, Stafford and Kupp, Hurts and AJ Brown. There's generally some sort of, quarterback wide receiver tandem that comes to life each year, whether it's the quarterback switching teams or the wide receiver switching teams, right? And, For me, like I've talked about Justin Fields and DJ Moore, but I've also talked about Trevor Lawrence and Calvin Ridley. I think those are the two kind of stacks you can look at that are going to bring a lot of upside to the table in terms of having a potential breakout wide receiver this year. So, I mean, of course, if you guys feel like there's any other potential, let me know. But I think those are the two that we need to take a strong look at. So, DJ Moore, the better value right now. Especially when Christian Kirk can go anywhere from the end of the fourth to like the beginning of the sixth round. You know, you can still snag a piece of that Jacksonville offense. But yeah, Ridley, as long as he's healthy, going to have a good year. You know, we've been, fans of Ridley for some time, but I've also been a big fan of Christian Kirk, and I've encouraged you guys to at least consider taking him in later rounds. But like tonight, for example, Ridley goes at the 3.3, Kirk goes at the 4.8. So if Kirk starts to kind of stagnate up to the middle of the fourth round, yeah, he's technically still a better value, but how much of a better value compared to Ridley is he? And then you have to kind of make the decision, which player are you higher on, right? But also keep in mind, we've seen Ridley go as early as like the 2.9, the 2.10. When you look at that tier wide receivers with guys like Devonta Smith and T. Higgins, who I think a lot of us still have a ton of confidence in, some people look at Calvin Ridley and say, well, he's a wide receiver one on an offense that I'm super high on, that I think is going to take another drastic step forward this coming season. And Devonta Smith and T. Higgins, although they're both on really good offenses, right, and have already taken those steps forward, they're still the wide receiver twos. So sometimes you do see Ridley go before Devonta Smith and T. Higgins, but on that note, sometimes you see Devonta Smith go before Olave, before Waddle, like right after Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. So it just kind of depends. Drafts right now, there is some shifting ADP going on, and that's natural for the beginning of August, and that's probably going to happen for the next couple of weeks, which is why, we run so many of these live streams where we're mock drafting, and this is why we put so many mock draft uploads out on the channel in the month of August, because it's important to keep up to date with what's going on in terms of ADP and kind of what the movement is across, different leagues, different formats, all that good stuff. So, all right, I am about to draft again, so let's take a look here. Yeah, it was hard for me to not go wide receiver at the 6'1" or 5'12", but the spot I'm in, I just felt like I had to go with a different position. I wanted to go quarterback early tonight, but yeah, like you look at the running back options, Dalvin Cook, James Cook, A.J. Dillon, Gibson, Brian Robinson. I'm happy I took one running back with one of those last two picks. And wide receivers right now are not phenomenal by any means. So we'll be hunting for some late round value. But let's go James Cook tonight. I don't mind Gibson. I don't mind Brian Robinson there. Let's switch it up a little. This tier of wide receivers is interesting. Like, I still like Sutton. I still like Quentin Johnston. But we're going to push some ADP up tonight. Give me Sky Moore. And let's move right along. Yeah, that's the one thing about the 112 is like, and even the 1-1 is like, I mean, sometimes you're going to have to reach for players. Like if I don't take Sky Moore there, he's not going to be there in the 9th. If I don't go Zay Flowers at 6'1", he's not going to be there at the end of the 7th. And like those are guys that I'm going for. And like I knew if I didn't take Zay Flowers with one of those last two picks where I took Fields or White, like I knew I wasn't going to get him. I don't have a problem going out and drafting them against ADP. I mean, I also like Jahan Dotson right there in that same range. I don't mind Jordan Addison, but yeah, I mean, one thing at the 112, you have quite a few selections before you pick again, and you see a lot of change in the overall turns before you select again. So, all right, let's get back to the live chat here. Brock, what's going on? Just made a move for Higgins in my 10-team home league. I sent Lockett, Dotson in a second. What do you think? Start 8-1 quarterback. I mean, if you have that much confidence in Higgins, I don't have a problem with it. You probably could have got something else back in this trade, as good as Higgins is. I mean, I think he had a little bit more leverage than he may have realized, because Lockett, a top 15 fantasy wide receiver the last 4 years. The second round selection is still pretty valuable. And then Dotson is one of those players who's like really moving up draft boards that a lot of fantasy managers really like and still had a good rookie season. So, don't get me wrong, like going out, getting Higgins, getting your guy, nothing wrong with that. Obviously, a player who's been, very consistent the last 3 years, is tied to Joe Burrow, is playing for a contract. So I don't have a problem with that, but I do think you gave up a good amount of value. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad trade, but I do think you could have got at least something else on top of Higgins in return as well. Andrea, hello. JSC, thoughts on Dameon Pierce versus DeAndre Swift? I think this is an interesting question because, where they're going. And Swift, whether it's my fault or not, when you guys mock with me, is moving up draft boards a bit because I'm really high on DeAndre Swift as an RB2 and preferably as an RB3, but I still like him in general. He goes at the 5-6 tonight. He's going a little bit earlier than we've seen lately, like we said. Dameon Pierce goes at the 5-5, so they're right next to each other tonight. I think when you're looking at those two guys, kind of in that range right there, Pierce, fine, good rookie season. We liked him a lot last offseason before the Dameon Pierce hype train even began. 939 rushing yards, 4 touchdowns. Didn't really start till like week 3, and then week 11, week 12, 2 stinker games, missed weeks 15 through 18. So all in all, through 13 games, those are pretty good numbers. 4.27 yards per carry. Not really a pass catching back. We know that. But he did have a receiving touchdown, 165 receiving yards off of 30 catches last year. So do I like the Texans offense? Not really. No. But that doesn't mean that I'm out on like all Texans players. I just don't feel as good about them as other teams. But I think Pierce will be the kind of consistency guy between the two. Like, what you're going to get out of Pierce. Is the ceiling always going to be super high? Probably not. But he did have some really good games, between weeks 3 and 8. And don't get me wrong, he played some bad run defenses in that time. Chicago, the Chargers, had 20 points against Jacksonville, the Raiders. And then, 14 against Tennessee. They were pretty good against the run last year. 13 against Philly. Remember that game? That was like a Thursday night game. And the Texans actually played pretty well. He had 13 points in that game and 12 points against the Giants. But I think what you'll get out of Pierce, but the ceiling's just not as high, if that makes sense. But on the flip side, DeAndre Swift, the ceiling is much, much, much higher. But you could get some inconsistency at times too, because that offense isn't always going to need to 100% use DeAndre Swift, but they are going to be able to utilize him to his skill set. Have him on the field ultimately when they want to and utilize him exactly how they want to, right? So I have no qualms with either player, and I think I'm higher on Swift because I'd rather take that upside. Let's see here. Let's take McKinnon off the board since A-Chain is gone. We have Cook, so we'll pass on Damian Harris, which maybe makes me wish I went Gibson because I could have got Harris here, but either way, it's fine. Then let's go wide receiver. But there aren't really good options. So let's just draft Jacoby Myers. Been one of my late round guys, so let's take him. Yeah, Kadarius Toney off the board there. How do you guys feel about Toney being expected to be back for week 1? How do you guys feel about him? Because his ADP has dropped down. I think for most people, it just feels like Kadarius Toney, another year, another injury, right? All right, back to it. Let's see here. Chase, didn't realize I got both Eckler and Herbert. I mean, There's nothing wrong with that at all. That's fine. I mean, Herbert in the 6 is a fine value. Eckler 1.7 is fine. Jay Fitness, what's going on, man? Glad you're here. Cats, what's going on? Hello, hello. Dom, what's up? GT Sport, Albert, Godfather. Hope everyone's doing great tonight. Thank you guys for being here. Cats, is Swift ceiling higher, though? Has never shown 3-down potential and is in an offense with a ton of mouths to feed. Yeah, but I think, you look at the nature of the way he plays. That's kind of where his upside is. And like I said, there's could definitely be inconsistency there. But, you look at week 1 last year, 144 yards on the ground, 1 touchdown, and, 3 receptions for 31 receiving yards. Then the following week, 56 yards on the ground, 1 receiving touchdown, 31 receiving yards again. Like, I could see plenty of that, where maybe one week he's utilized, gets 15 rushing attempts, and then the next week gets 5 rushing attempts, but still scores in both games and still gets you double digits each week. But I do agree. Like, there are benefits, though, of the Eagles having a lot of mouths to feed. And, because, Swift is going to be on the field and defenses are going to have to account for what is Jalen Hurts going to do on this play. Although I do think Hurts is going to run less this year because of the contract. He's still going to run the football. It's what he does, right? On top of that, defenses obviously have to account for A.J. Brown. They have to account for Devonta Smith. They have to account for Dallas Goedert. I don't know if they really have a wide receiver on this team that will break out as a wide receiver 3. If they do, it's probably Quez Watkins, but he's a good blocking receiver. I don't know if he's really going to end up being much of a fantasy threat or a threat to other players on this team fantasy-wise. But, that all benefits DeAndre Swift's skill set because he's a home run hitter. He doesn't really have to be a 3-down back to really be, valuable in fantasy, in my opinion at least. But on top of that, Kenneth Gainwell, Rashad Penny, Boston Scott, there are other running backs on this team that are going to be good at times this year. That I think that helps Swift, though, because he can play to his strengths. The Eagles could utilize him how they want to. Nick Sirianni is going to draw plays for Swift. They're going to get him involved. But I do agree. There's a lot of mouths to feed on that offense, but it's not as saturated as it is. It's not as bad as some other offenses out there. You have a primary wide receiver 1 and 2. You have Hurts doing his thing. Goddard, as long as he stays healthy this year, is going to be productive in his own sense. And then there are other running backs that are going to be in the mix. But when you look at last year, somebody kind of has to have that Miles Sanders type role. And do I think Swift is necessarily going to do that? I'm not exactly sure. But I do think we could definitely see at least 2 running backs on this team end up being very fantasy relevant. And I think most people would say it's Rashad Penny, as long as he's healthy, and DeAndre Swift, as long as he's healthy. So it's a fair point. But at the end of the day, I think maybe high ceiling isn't the right phrase, but the upside is there with DeAndre Swift. Is that fair? Is that a better way of putting it? Carlo, just one mock draft tonight, but we'll be back on. We've been streaming at least 5 days a week, trying to do more than that. And then we have at least one mock draft upload going out every single day. Then we have tons of mock drafts going out on our Discord as well. Completely free to join. Link is in the description down below. Okay, I need more wide receivers. And I need Greg Dulcich. I was kind of worried because last round I was going to pick Dulcich, and I was like, I'm going to wait one more round. And it turned out okay. Give me Rashid Shaheed. I like Darnell Mooney right here. I think he's a pretty good value, but I have DJ Moore. Let's not oversaturate ourselves. We have Justin Fields as well. So, give me Rashid Shaheed. Go for some upside in the 12th round. Let's see here. Jay Fitness, I'm fine with taking a flyer on Tony as a wide receiver 4 or 5. I think that's fair. That's where he went tonight as a wide receiver 4. J-Dub says round 10 by Tony. That's where he goes tonight. Let's see. Cats, Pierce has 3-down workload potential, is shown to be an efficient runner on a horrible offense. Texas offense will improve from last year regardless. I mean, I think that's fair. And like I said, I mean, I think the upside is probably the better way of putting it. The upside is there for DeAndre Swift. The consistency is definitely there for Dameon Pierce. So, like, where they're going, I think you just kind of have to pick your poison. I kind of prefer the upside, but, I was really high on Dameon Pierce last year, and I think he's perfectly fine in that range as well. So, just kind of depends. But, yeah, I do definitely think the Texans have to, year by year, improve. And, I mean, I guess it's worth noting, like, Devin Singletary's there. I'm not really worried about Devin Singletary, and if you're high on Pierce, you're probably not either, but they probably have a slightly better overall backfield this year than they did last year, I guess. But, yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. He probably is in line to get more overall touches than Swift. I think that's fair. All right. So, yeah, I was going to let you guys know for the Catch Fam tournament, I'm just filling one league a day. So league number 1 got filled. That's over with. I'll fill league number 2 next. That way you will know, if you're in league number 2, you'll know your draft date as soon as it gets filled. You'll know your draft order. You can start practicing from your respective draft spot. Then I'll move on to league 3 and then league 4. And there's still a small potential that I add one more league. Like I said at the beginning of the stream, I just don't realistically know if I'm going to be able to do it. But there were a couple spots in the tournament that I went ahead and filled, most of them YouTube members. And I'm waiting for confirmation. So there is potential for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spots to open. And one of those is already claimed. So like I am running kind of like a backup list, so to speak. And then, of course, if anyone drops out, if anyone gets kicked, which, like, we usually don't really have any issue there. But if it happens, then, like, I'll need somebody. So just keep in mind, if you guys did want to get in and you guys didn't get in, it's not necessarily over just yet. But I think realistically, it's probably going to be 4 leagues total. And like I said, there is still potential to get in if you guys did not yet. J Fitness, where do we check which league we get on? You'll just know when you get the invite. It'll be in the league title, like league number, Catch Fam 2023, number 1, 2, 3, or 4. So you'll know once you get the invite. But it's really just completely random anyway. So like I just had the list running, and I'll just once you get the invite, you'll know. But it'll just be over the next like 3 or 4 days, you guys will get the invite. So just if you guys get a random message from me on Discord, that's a sleeper link. It's not a mock draft. That is that's your invite. So if you guys are expecting to get an invite, just keep that in mind. If I send you a random message, that's what it is. So I think some people last night thought I was like, they just didn't know. Like, I mean, it makes sense. You guys just getting like a random sleeper link from me could just be like, could be anything. But yeah, that's what it is. All right, I guess I'll go Van Jefferson here. I don't really mind Alec Pierce or Isaiah Hodgins there. Michael Gallup's interesting. But I'll go with Jefferson, and I need to go defense or kicker. Stay true to form. Let's just go with the Pats, but Daniel Carlson is certainly enticing as well. All right, guys, 14th round wrapping up here. I felt like tonight's mock went by super quick. But we're basically right on time. Man, I need to like redo my Streamlabs setup, so like no matter what I do, I'm like cutting off the screen. I don't know what's better, but I'm just gonna block the left side of the screen. Yeah, all right, let's hit some team reviews. I mean, we've got 1 round or so left. You guys are mainly gonna draft kickers and defenses, maybe a late round, I don't know, Jerome Ford with it in the 14th. So let me know if you guys want team review. All right. J Fitness. drafting from the 1.3 tonight. Lamar. I like Lamar. He's good. Man, my quarterback, like, I mean, what else am I supposed to say? Like, yeah, Lamar is perfectly fine as a QB1, you know? Hawkinson's fine there. I'm not really drafting the tight end in the 5th in any of my builds, but I don't mind it. Stevenson, Dobbins, Dillon. I like that start. I like Dobbins in the 7th still, even with his situation being weird. Herbert and Harris, I think good values on those guys. Chase, Ridley, Dotson, Juju, Marvin Mims, DPJ. I like the value on Mims and DPJ. Mims is a guy, that we got to start taking some shots on. With Timmy Patrick going down, especially if you're playing like a keeper league. Take that shot on him late. Same with Reed, right? But, I do like this team. I personally am probably going for one more wide receiver over one of those late round running backs. Like for me, I get it too with Dobbins stuff going on. Like maybe you're not 100% confident. So it's still a perfectly fine build. I don't know. You still got 6 wide receivers actually. Yeah, you know what? I'm fine with this build actually. Bassman in the Steelers defense. So let's see here. You're starting Lamar and T-Hawk, Stevenson and Dobbins, Stevenson and Dillon. You need a big year out of Stevenson, that's for sure. So I think he'll have one. Cook goes there, gets interesting, but I think he'll be all right. Chase, Ridley, Dotson, Juju, Mims, DPJ. I do like your wide receivers. I think you got good value throughout the night. I'm still not like really crazy high on Juju, but it's like, I get it, He's going to be the primary wide receiver. I mean, I guess Devontae Parker's there. But at the end of the day, like, Juju's going to be the guy. Whatever that means. Is the ceiling high? Probably not. But this offense should improve from what they did last year. New offensive coordinator. Full PPR. Juju in the 9th. I'm not against it. So let's see here. You're starting Lamar, T-Hawk, Stevenson, Dobbins, Chase, Ridley, Dotson, Juju. You got Dillon, Herbert, Harris, Mims, DPJ on the bench, starting the Bassman and Steelers defense. I think this team's fine. Nothing crazy, but I think it's just fine. I do think you got some good values tonight, too, in your later rounds. And, like, the thing with Juju, right, is, like, I say it all the time. But, bad, mediocre offenses, however you want to look at it, still produce good fantasy players, especially in full PPR. So, like, Juju in the 9th is probably a wide receiver 1 on his respective team. Probably a good pick, even if the ceiling's low, right? All right, Slade at the 1-6. 2 a time. Kelsey. Can live with that. Henry, Swift, Robinson, Mostart. I'm okay with that. Debo, Judy, Evans, Flowers, Mike Thomas, Zay Jones, Tank Dell, Justin Tucker, Chiefs defense. I'm probably taking the Ravens defense before the Chiefs defense. But who really cares? You can stream defense, but that's my only evaluation, Slade. Moving on. Just kidding. So let's see here. You're starting Tua and Kelsey, Henry and Swift. I like that combo. That's fun. Debo, Judy, flexing Evans, flexing Flowers. So you'd have Brian Robinson, Mike Thomas, Zay Jones, Mostart, and Tank Dell on the bench. That's fine. I like Zay Flowers in the 7th. Like, go out and get him. I mean, I literally think, like, in the last week, I've seen Zay Flowers go from a 9th rounder to an 8th rounder to a 7th rounder. I think I've seen Sky Moore go from a 10th to a 9th to an 8th. So, those two guys, man, you got to go out and get them if you want a piece of them. You just have to. So, yeah, I think this team looks pretty good. Nothing crazy, once again, but I think it's fun. I like the combo Henry and Swift. That just feels fun. Wide receiver room's interesting, but perfectly fine values. I like Robinson on the bench. I think he's gonna have a good year. So long as Tua stays healthy, you're good there. Spenny. What's up, Spence? For a second, I was like, you have no quarterback? Captain Kirk. Guys, I've been watching quarterback on Netflix finally. I've been super behind. Only 2 episodes in. Man, I like Kirk Cousins. He's a cool dude. So you passed the quarterback test tonight. Just because I've been watching Netflix. Njoku, you're fine there. But I mean, realistically, if you're gonna go late round quarterback, like, the Vikings are gonna throw the football a ton this year. QB6 last year, still got JJ. You get Addison. That offense is gonna be fine for fantasy. All right, Jacobs, Pacheco, Monty. I like that start for you a lot, man. I mean, whether you go Gibbs there, whether you go Jacobs, I don't know if I want Gibbs and Monty just because it's going to be a headache, but either way, I like that start. Charbs, I'm fine with at the 8-12. Chase Brown, fine there. JJ, Higgins, Watson, Ayuk, J-Mo, Rashee Rice. A lot of youth here, a lot of upside. Niners defense, Younghoe Koo. This feels like a very Spencer team. So we're starting Cousins and Njoku. Jacobs and Pacheco, or Pacheco and Monty, depending on where Jacobs is week 1. JJ, Higgins, Watson, Ayuk. I love that for you. I mean, I love, the wide receiver 1, 2, and the 2 flex spots for, just going 1 running back through the first 5 rounds. I think you end up with a good running back room. Got a good value tight end, and you just slaying it. What am I saying? I don't know. You risked it for the biscuit at quarterback, bro. Still got Cousins. So I do like this team, Spence. I mean, Cousins and Njoku, Jacobs, Monty, Jacobs, Pacheco, whatever, however your running back's going to look. JJ, Higgins, Watson, Ayuk. I love that. Looks fine to me. Chase Brown at the 1-7. Herbert and Richardson. Uh-oh. Spicy. Andrews at tight end. You're good on both ends there. Eckler, Mixon, Gibson, Foreman. I can live with that in redraft. Olave, Pittman, Pickens, Collins, Moore, Mooney. Okay. I mean, like those, you go double running back through the first 7 rounds. That's fine. First 4 rounds, I guess, is really the bigger point there. And a tight end and a quarterback all through the first 6 rounds. So, Pittman's a good value. I like Olave a lot in the second. But then, like, Pickens, Collins, Moore, Mooney, they're all fine where you took them, but those guys have to hit. This is like, being a double flex, full PPR league. In my opinion, you want 2 wide receivers in the flex at, like, as much as possible. So those guys just have to hit. Pickens in the 7th, nice. Collins, Moore, Mooney, they're fine, but, like, you got to get value out of those guys. You know what I'm saying? Money Max, Saints defense, those are fine. Saints defense, while they really disappointed last year, they're going to face Desmond Ridder. They're going to face Bryce Young. They're going to face Baker Mayfield or Kyle Trask all 2 times a year. So I guarantee you, in leagues that play with defensive teams, the Saints are going to be moving up as like a nice little kind of value selection potentially. But they also really disappointed last year after, being the top 8 defense 3 years in a row. So let's see what happens. But yeah, Herbert, Andrews, Eckler, Mixon, Olave, Pittman, Pickens, and probably Gibson in that second flex. Collins, Moore, Foreman, Mooney, all guys that can filter in though. So trades, waiver wires, you'd be fine. All right, let's see. Reverse at the 1-5. T-Law and Schultz. That's fine. Schultz is still fine as a late round tight end. Dulcich or Schultz? Who you guys drafting? Who you guys like more? Komet went at the 9-8. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a heavy tight end draft. I think J-Dub's taking Waller and Pitts, which I think is smart. You kind of saw some tight end value. I mean, even Ingram at 8.9, Freiermuth at 8.11, and Njoku at 9.1. Like, I don't think those guys are too early, but just like a couple picks earlier than they may usually go. Anyway, Schultz is fine there. Pollard, Pierce, Cook, Bigsby, Hunt. I'm fine with that. Hill, Metcalf, Kirk, Deontay, Gabe Davis, and Michael Gallup. I like that wide receiver room. Cowboys defense and Butker. So, we're starting T-Law and Schultz, Pollard and Pierce, Hill and Metcalf, flexing Kirk, flexing Deontay. I like that starting lineup a lot. And you got Cook, Davis, Bigsby, Hunt, and Gallup on the bench. So plenty of different flex options, different running back kind of bench guys that can filter in potentially throughout the year. Good enough kicker, good defense. I like the core roster a lot. T-Law, Schultz, Pollard, Pierce, Hill, Metcalf, Kirk, and Deontay. Full PPR. I feel pretty good about that starting lineup. Then, you just got to manage those bench players, get the right waiver moves throughout the year, hold on to the right guys, maybe Bigsby, for example, down the stretch. Gallup is an interesting value in the 15th. So, and I like the Cowboys defense a lot once again this year. So, looks pretty good to me, man. And I just clicked on Tyreek Hill by accident. So. All right. Taylor. Is that the 1, 2? Gino. Be fine. Freiermuth. Good there. C-Mac, Gibbs, Kamara, Penny. I like that running back combo. Feels kind of scary in a good way. I mean, maybe with Kamara's suspension, you want one more running back. With Penny being injury prone, God forbid anything happens to C-Mac or Gibbs. But you'd be fine, I think. Smith, McLaurin, Hopkins, Addison. A nice start there as well. Beckham, Boyd, Chark. That's fine. Ravens defense and Jason Myers. A good team here. As long as Geno pans out again. So starting Geno and Freiermuth, C-Mac and Gibbs. Devonta Smith, McLaurin, flexing D-Hop, flexing Addison. If you didn't want to put Addison out there week 1, Beckham, Boyd, Chark all have decent enough floors as well. Good defense, good kicker, good depth, or good bench running back and wide receiver options, I should say. Yeah, I like that team. I like that core roster a lot as well. Geno, Freiermuth, C-Mac, Gibbs, Smith, McLaurin, Hopkins, Addison. Yeah, when Kamara comes back, you get, another valuable RB2 or flex option. So, pretty good team, man. Boxing the Jack. What's up, dude? Allen at QB, Kittle at tight end. I mean, you can always take one more tight end behind Kittle, but you're fine. Hall kind of fell out tonight. I passed on him at the 312. Hall is a weird ADP. I feel like Hall could go anywhere from like the 3.1 to like the 4.5. But Hall, Sanders, Pirine, Mitchell, Roschon. And for the record, I do like Hall in the 4th round a lot. I like him at that value. Same with ETN. Running backs look fine to me. Even if Pirine, Mitchell, Roschon are more like bench committee guys, they all have value within their respective backfields, even being committee guys as well. Diggs, Wilson, Elijah Moore, Brandon Cooks, Thielen, Jaden Reed. So, I mean, you have some question marks there, like Thielen, Cooks. I like Moore where he got him. Jaden Reed, I like where he got him. But I think those two veterans are fine sprinkled in there. You're going to get a lot of consistency out of Diggs and Wilson. Bills defense, Graham Gano. That's fine. So we're starting Allen and Kittle, which is good. Hall and Sanders, I think that ended up being a nice combo for you. Diggs and Wilson, flexing Elijah Moore. Then in that second flex spot, I think you might take a week or two to kind of figure out who's going to be the most consistent for you. Maybe it's Pirine. Maybe it's Brandon Cooks. Maybe it's Adam Thielen. I don't think it's going to be Mitchell or Roschon Johnson, but I think in redraft they are good, kind of running backs to have on your bench. Jaden Reed, as the field goes on, could be as the season goes on, could be an option as well. So Looks pretty solid between trades, waiver wire. I think you'd be fine. All right, Andrea. Andrea did not draft tonight. One of you guys gets me every night. Let me see here. JW. What do we do tonight? Hurts. He's good at football, I think. Waller and Pitts. I like the combo. Get someone behind Waller. Injury prone. History injuries. So that's a nice little combo there. Waller and Pitts. Pitts a good value in the 8th. Barkley, Madison, Ashane, Miller. I mean, you're basically playing hero running back with some dead zone running backs, which is fine. Believe it or not. Might feel a little queasy, but it's fine. Especially in redraft as the season goes on. All right, A.J. Brown, Drake London, Mike Williams. I like that start. Bateman, good value there. Mingo's kind of like one of your late-round guys. I'm fine with it. Mechie's fine in the 15th. Good defense, good kicker. A good little squad here. Double tight end build. So we're starting Hurts and let's say Waller. Barkley and Madison, Brown and London. Flexied Mike Williams. Then that second flex, Pitts, Ashane as the season goes on. Bateman, maybe Mingo, maybe Kendre Miller. Although if they sign Hunt, that becomes a messy situation. I'm not out on Miller, but it just becomes messy. Maybe Mechie, but I think Pitts, Ashane, Bateman are your best options there. So double tight end, I kind of like it. How do you feel about it? I think the core roster looks pretty good. You know, let's say you passed on one of these tight ends and you got Elijah Moore in the 7th, or you got, I mean, just looking at the board, Quentin Johnston in the 8th, which having Mike Williams could be a headache, but in that regard, you have a wide receiver in that second flex. But I don't know. Pitts or Waller could basically be a wide receiver, which is probably your logic, right? Okay, let's see. All right, it's German. What's up, dude? Thanks for drafting tonight. Mahomes with Prescott. You know, I'm not like 100% against that, but especially since you also went double tight end, I think if you draft Mahomes in a redraft one quarterback league, don't think about drafting another quarterback. You just don't need to do it. And if you need someone else, bye week, small injury, whatever, because Mahomes stays healthy, the waiver wire will be there for you. Especially since, if you didn't go double tight end, like I think if you go double tight end or double quarterback, I think it has to be one or the other, redraft, in my opinion, single quarterback leagues. But JT Jones, Connor, Jamal, I think that's a perfectly fine running back room for, once again, this format. Kupp, Godwin, Lockett, Burks, Lazard. I mean, you still got 5 good wide receivers, at their given value. Ingram and Kincaid. So, I just prefer, maybe getting one more wide receiver in here. Double flex, full PPR league. But ultimately, I don't think you have a bad roster. And sometimes just coming out of your draft, going into the year, between waivers, between trades, having just a structurally sound roster coming out of your draft is okay. You have depth at every position at the end of the day here. So you're starting Mahomes and Ingram, JT and Jones, Kupp and Godwin, flexing Lockett. In that second flex, I mean, James Conner, Treylon Burks, Jamal Williams, Allen Lazard, even Dalton Kincaid all have value. So I do like this roster. I really think if you spend the draft capital on Mahomes, you just don't need that second quarterback. If you felt like he was the best player on the board because, looking at ADP, Dak Prescott in the 13th is a good value, then I get that too. Maybe you want to utilize him as part of a trade, whatever it may be, but spending taking the first quarterback off the board does come with some draft capital as well. You know what I mean? But ultimately, I think the team looks pretty good. Alrighty. Team of the night is tough. Tough. It's either Taymon or reverse. maybe a tie. I think those were definitely my two favorite teams I went over. Maybe a tie tonight. But I thought everyone had pretty good teams tonight. Okie doke. Let's roast my team and wrap it up for the night. Fields at quarterback. I wanted to go with the early quarterback tonight, see what would happen. Lamb, Amon-Ra, DJ Moore, Sky Moore, Myers, Rashid Shaheed, Van Jefferson. I can live with that. Walker, Rashad White, Cook, McKinnon. I mean, I'll say if I don't get a running back in the first 2 rounds, Walker has really become my top target. I like Najee. I like Breece Hall to a degree. I like Travis Etienne. If Gibbs falls out, I like Gibbs too, but he won't fall out. Walker's really become like my RB1 target. At his given ADP, which I do think could change, but I think the combination of the groin injury and the drafting of Zach Charbonnet, he's probably going to stay in that range. So I like this team. Greg Dulcich at tight end, was an interesting draft for tight ends tonight, but I'll take Dulcich if I have to. Pat's defense. I totally missed my last pick, didn't I? I was going over teams. I got Jason Sanders. I totally did not make that pick, but oh well. Doesn't really matter. Anyway, so we'd be starting Fields and Dulcich, Walker and White, Lamb and St. Brown, flexing DJ Moore. Then in that second flex, I think you could say there's probably something I have to figure out here, but there's plenty of options, Cook, Sky Moore, McKinnon, Myers, Shaheed, and Van Jefferson. So I think there's something I could figure out there. But I'm also starting to kind of practice for my home league, which is a keeper league. I think I'm keeping Christian Watson in the 14th round, but I have some really good options. I've got Josh Jacobs in the 4th. I've got Amon-Ra in the 5th, Devonta Smith in the 6th. I've just got some good options, but I think Christian Watson in the 14th. So if I'm, looking at this team, which I am drafting from the 112 in that league, if I drafted this team, I'd also have Christian Watson, so I'd really be having Fields, Walker, White, Lamb, St. Brown, DJ Moore, Christian Watson, and Dulcich as my starting lineup, with Cook, Sky Moore, McKinnon, Myers, Shaheed on the bench. Let's say we scrap Van Jefferson. So I'm trying to kind of practice for that as well as practice for the Catch Fam tournament, but even if that's not the case and I don't have that Christian Watson value, I still like this team. But kind of my dilemma, in the non-keeper league is right here at the 5-12-6-1. I have to take that RB2 because if I don't, then I fall into a really bad tier for my second running back. But I also want an early quarterback this year, I think. At least a Fields, Lawrence, Herbert type range. But I also really want to take a wide receiver right there. So that's something I'm going to have to play around with. So, anyways, those are my notes. I'm fine with this team. How's the Catch Fam tourney work? Wasn't it last year? Unfortunately, I know you said it's no buy-in. Yeah, there's no buy-in. Nothing you guys need to pay or anything. I just do the grand prize at the end of the year. But essentially, you have 4 leagues. Okay? I think everyone knows that. There's a respective winner in each league, right? First place in each league, second place in each league, third place in each league. But second and third are really only mean anything to each individual league. The first place team of each league competes for the grand prize. So as long as you get first place in your league, you're in that pool. And whoever has the most points scored on the season out of the 4 first place teams wins the grand prize. So that way, in a sense, everyone's competing against each other. At the end of the day, you want to score as many points as possible on a regular basis. On top of that, there is a toilet bowl winner as well. So the number one, whoever out of all the toilet bowl winners, whoever scores the most points in the toilet bowl, or not in the toilet bowl, on the whole season, who also wins the toilet bowl, also is a toilet bowl champ. So last year, that was Smokey the Cat Cat. Last year, the Catch Fam tournament winner was Oh gosh, he changed his YouTube username to Jameis Winston's ACL. But what was it before that? I don't remember. But anyways, last year the grand prize was a jersey of your choice from, you know, any player on your team. So you had to choose. You couldn't pick any jersey that you wanted. It had to be a player who was on your fantasy team for the year. So I haven't decided what the grand prize is going to be this year, but it'll be something cool. I'm going to keep you guys on your toes with the grand prize announcement. All right, Terry, would you trade Madison and Javonte Williams for Allen and Rachaad White? Half PPR redraft. Danny Dimes, Garrett Wilson, DK, Stevenson, Walker, Waller, Madison. Benches Dillon, Javonte, D-Hop, Michael Thomas, B-Rob, Pierce, and Murray. I mean, you have quite a few. Is Damian Pierce on your bench? You know, I don't know if I do this trade. It's very close. Let's see here. Wide receivers, Wilson, DK, D-Hop, Thomas. I think that additional wide receiver does help. I'd probably do the trade. I mean, I like Rachaad White a lot, but I like him most in full PPR. I don't know. Madison and Javonte could have really good years, consistent years. Depends on how high you are on Javonte. If you're not super high, I think you do the trade, because that leaves you with one more wide receiver of value. You know, you'd have Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, Keenan Allen, D-Hop, and Michael Thomas. And your running backs, whether you do the trade or not, are in a good place, you know. I mean, you have Stevenson and Walker. You do lose Madison, who looks like is in your flex spot, but that could be Rachaad White. It could be Keenan Allen. But Damian Pierce and Brian Robinson on your bench is kind of the difference maker, I think. Also got offered Khalil Herbert and Christian Watson for Javonte Williams. I mean, I do think either trade is smart, because I probably like the second trade more. Like, I'm not really too high on Khalil Herbert. I think there's more competition in that backfield than some people might realize, but I like Watson enough that I would do that trade. Because at that point, then your running backs are Stevenson, Walker, Madison, Pierce, Robinson, and Herbert. Like, you don't lose any running back value at all, and you gain massive upside of the wide receiver position, which you need. Your wide receivers aren't bad, but you want to be able to flex Christian Watson, in my opinion. You know, I think you do the second trade. You don't lose any running back value at all. Your running backs are good. So I think you do that second trade and you get Christian Watson, because I think he's going to have a better year than Allen. I don't think Allen's going to have a bad year, but Watson brings that upside, right? Half PPR, that's more valuable. And then your starting lineup is Daniel Jones, Garrett Wilson, DK Metcalf, Ramondre Stevenson, Kenneth Walker, Darren Waller, and Christian Watson. On the bench, you have Alexander Madison, A.J. Dillon, D-Hop, Michael Thomas, Brian Robinson, and Damian Pierce. And Murray. Which Murray is it? Kyler Murray? I think you do the second trade. Andrew, have a good night. Senior Cinnabon, hello. Catching us at the last minute here. I'm sorry. Good to see you, broski. But yeah, I would do that second trade, Terry. Yeah, I like Kyler on the bench too. I do the second trade if I'm you personally. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that'll wrap it up for the night. If you guys need anything, throw it out on Discord, hit me up on Instagram, throw it in a comment on one of the videos. We've had a mock draft upload every day since the end of July. That's going to continue. Tomorrow, I'll film some 12-teamers. Tomorrow, another 10-teamer will come out. One came out today. We're going to go back to filming some 12-teamers. And that's going to do it for the night. I got a couple things to do, so I'm going to go and sign off. Cinnabon, I haven't heard anything from Julian, so I'll probably get him replaced. But I'm probably not getting all that set up until this weekend. So I'm trying to get the Catch Fam leagues filled, and then I'm going to go back to the auction league, and then any of the additional leagues I'm going to add this year. But I haven't heard anything from Julian, so I'll try and get that figured out maybe a little bit sooner so you guys can get a date, though. All right, guys, hit the like on the way out. Thank you guys for hanging out tonight. You know who you are. Thank you to any new subscribers. Like I said, plenty of mock draft videos going out and plenty more live streams coming, so make sure you guys are checking those out. Might be helpful to you. If you guys have any mock draft requests, go find one of the mock draft videos and drop a comment. Let me know. I'll get it put on the schedule. So, love you guys, man. Love this community. Love the Catch Fam. Thank you guys for drafting with me tonight. Thank you guys for talking fantasy. And I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. With that, I will say thank you guys so much for watching and or listening. And remember, you saw it here on the Catch. And